Hello. Welcome to the Make It While You Fake It podcast. A podcast about running a custom furniture and woodworking business while also trying to start a community makerspace outside of Philly. All without having any formal education in woodworking or in business. I'm Dan Scriven from Woe Shop Woodworking and Monco Makers, and I'm glad that you're here with us. All right. We're back. We're back. And what I say I mean, I'm back. Normal guys aren't here today, but we do have a super special guest who is willing to be the first to be my remote guest. So we're testing out the software, seeing how this goes. Am
I super special? Like,
yes.
Like special, or like, oh, he's a special one?
I will leave that up to the interpretation, but
we'll go with both.
This is pretty exciting. So we are talking today with Bryan Ortquist from Old Mountain Woodworking, and maybe I said it right, but I can barely read. So
you got it right.
Sweet. So we're gonna have a nice little conversation with this guy because I met him at the restoration station over at Maker Camp, which was fantastic. And it's funny, the amount of people that I met there that I have been talking to all year, and I'm excited to see again this year is super, super exciting. We'll get into all that, but
yeah, Dan, I feel exactly the same.
Dude, it's a magical place. But first and foremost, got to thank Keith Drennan over at Blackthorn Concepts because he is my one and only paid patron because he is the man. Support the show over at patreon.com/Monco Makers. And all proceeds are going to the makerspace and opening the makerspace, hopefully making that a reality as soon as possible. And we'll also get into all of that. But for now, without further ado, Bryan Ortquist, who are you? What are you doing here?
You know what? I'm just a guy who loves to play around with some wood and make some stuff, just like a lot of the people listening right now. Decided to take it from having some fun and making a little money on the side. God, now time flies. It's been 5 years, almost four and a half years of doing it full time. But yeah, I jumped on and my shop is right out of my. Well, it's across from my home. I've got a 75-foot walk to work.
Nice.
But on my property, and yeah, make furniture and don't get bored.
Did you build that building, or was it there when you moved in?
The building was actually here when we moved in. It was actually just a shell of a pole barn. The space is roughly 24 wide by 32 long on the inside with
nice.
About 10 feet from the concrete pad floor to the rafters up there.
Nice.
So decent amount of overhead space. And then behind it is actually, I always forget about the additional amount of space that I have, but kind of behind the building is it was kind of used as a woodshed for a while, and it was originally from the previous owners. It was horse stables. They used to board.
Oh, sure.
So they really used to use this kind of barn for tractor implements and stuff like that. And then they had a space for the horses. There's kind of a breezeway and horse stables in the back that I've kind of had additional storage space and stuff back there too. But hoping to expand the shop a little bit in the future. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the stuff that you've been doing, it sounds like it's a lot of space. But when you know that once you start having two projects going at once, and you have a glue up going, and you have I need to finish, but I also need sand. I need this kind of stuff. It fills up that space real quick.
Yeah, shop space kind of is the same thing. They really should be going hand in hand with the same concept of clamps. You can never have too much shop space, and you can never have too many clamps.
100%. No, yep. Absolutely. And when I've started to, I've been living that with planning this makerspace because I started thinking about, well, what do I want to do there? Well, it's only starting with woodworking. So, okay, how much space could I possibly need for woodworking? Well, if you want an actual shop where there are, a dozen or 2 dozen people actively working in that at the same time and being able to move around, then you got classrooms, and then you got a lumberyard, and then you got, just a classroom just for lathes, just for the turning stuff, and you have storage for people when they want to. You start adding it up real quick. So now at the point where I'm looking for 10 to 15,000 square feet, and it's just, whew.
It's a rabbit hole. It's a rabbit hole because there are so many different facets of woodworking. Turning is its own thing, and even within turning, you've got bowl turning, you've got pen turning, you've got big platter turning, you've got all kinds. Some stuff you don't need much space for, and other stuff you need like a whole lot of space, and you also need to plan for what happens with the potential for that bowl becoming airborne. You need a little space.
Yeah, right, exactly. And
you don't want to put a table saw right next to the lathe.
Yeah, and then that's all just woodworking. And the vision long term is that it's essentially what Maker Camp is on a smaller scale, where you have a bunch of different crafts and a bunch of different materials and instructors and different kinds of classes. So you start expanding past woodworking, and then it's like, well, where the hell am I putting blacksmithing stuff? Where am I putting metalworking stuff? And you have knife making class and leatherworking, and start going down the line, and then you start running out of space really, really fast. And some of that stuff has to be outside.
Yeah,
it starts to get real hairy.
Yeah,
yeah, more space the better, but it comes at an absolute premium around me for cost.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, my shop now, I share with my buddy Jake. He's the official on the books tenant, and I sublet from him. And then I think our shop's around 2,500 square feet. So it's nice and big. However, with the amount of crap that we have and old tools that aren't used and lumber and this and that, it doesn't feel like we have room at all.
Yeah, when it's just shop space, then it feels big. When it's shop plus tool storage plus lumber storage plus you put everything into one space, and it really shrinks quickly. Especially when you're dealing with trying to keep a space clean with finishing and segmenting a shop to try to make it so you can actually work in it 100% of the time doing everything. It's very difficult.
Yeah, no, it totally is. And that's the thing. It limits it. Then it restricts what you want to even take on. If someone came to me right now and was like, hey, I would love a custom kitchen, cabinets, kitchen island, countertops, give me the whole thing. But like, that's great. I don't know where I'd put it. I can't paint cabinets in there. Yep. I have to now immediately get somebody to do that. Sure, I could. I would take up the entire shop, and the other 2 guys that work in there would be completely out of luck, and they couldn't be there.
It would decommission the shop for a good segment of time. Yeah, which is all has to get fat. When you're running a business or you're doing anything that you have to attach a dollar amount to. Yeah, right. It all has to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, then really it's just not worth doing. And
no. And that's the thing. You also want to be a good neighbor. Like, we're all in there. We're all busting our ass trying to make money, trying to do commissions and everything. If I'm the guy that's going to take up the entire shop because I'm spraying for the next 3 days and I'm doing multiple coats and finish, and please don't make dust. Like, now I'm infringing on them, and now I'm kind of being an ass. So, so you just multiply that to have dozens of people in a shared makerspace, and it's going to get interesting. I've never been an official member of a makerspace where I went all the time and paid monthly memberships and all that kind of stuff. But I did take several classes in the one that's closest by to here. And there weren't a ton of people in there at the same time. I think our vibes are going to be cooler, so I expect to have more. But either way, you got to be getting in each other's way all the time. So it's going to be a constant struggle with keeping multiples of tools, so that if someone has it set, they can just do their thing for a little while, and someone can use the other one, all that kind of stuff.
Yep, necessities. Yeah, definitely important to make sure you got multiples of the tools, because when you grab something and it's using it, you need it.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, how did you get started? Was the light up actual water flowing beer pong table? Was that the first real project that you did, or I'm sure you were tinkering around before that?
Definitely, I've been tinkering around my whole life. I mean, I remember when I was, I might have been 4 or 5, and I made like this little cardboard and rubber band powered gun that would shoot like little paper wads. And
Awesome.
it fully functioned, and I was like 4 or 5, so I understood mechanics, kind of working with my hands. And from an early age, like I was into art and into making things and into taking things apart. I've told this story before, but I'm going to share it on here too. But I was the only one. My mom is a seamstress. She makes custom dresses, alterations,
cool.
custom clothing. I've worked with her on a few things, actually, with upholstery. The daybed swing that I made that went down to where was that? That was on the shore in Connecticut. But she did all the upholstery for it. The daybed.
It's cool.
And the pillows and everything. But early on, like probably 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, I was pretty much the only kid she would trust with using her sewing shears.
Right.
She didn't mind if I used them because, for one, she knew I wasn't going to cut myself, and two, she knew I knew what I was doing with them, so she was comfortable. But yeah, that flowing beer pong table was probably the first big project I took on.
Yeah.
I mean, I've made other things. I can't remember if I did a boat, restored a boat, full fiberglass work and everything, but I can't remember if it was at the same time as the beer pong table. But as far as woodworking goes, the beer pong table I did, and it got popular with friends and family. And they recommended that I get it patented. So I can go through the process. I do own the patent. It is a utility patent. I own it now.
That's awesome.
How many more years do I think it was a 20-year patent, and it was filed back in 2011. So I've got it until 2031.
Nice. Got to make it happen.
I can extend that. So I've built a couple of them. Actually, I've got one back here behind me. But they're not like a big moneymaker. It's just now I own the patent. So if somebody else wants to do it, sorry, I own it. But it's got flowing water and filters and all that.
Awesome. That's the thing. Like, even if you weren't planning on doing this full time, you had the mindset of overbuilding to a ridiculous level just from the get-go, because that's awesome. That
was actually back before epoxy pouring was even a thing.
Nice.
They coated the entire beer pong table in a flood coat of tabletop epoxy, and then included a squeegee for when beer or water or anything spilled on the table. We could just squeegee it off into the water trough that was on the side. So there you go. Nice clean table again. So I was pouring epoxy before epoxy was like now, because now I don't really do. I kind of steer people away from epoxy nowadays.
I try to do the same, honestly.
And it's not even because there's any problems with epoxy. It's more because I wanted to be different. I wanted to be able to say, okay, I'm focusing on the woodworking aspect of it. I can do the epoxy, but there are a good amount of people who do it, and it's extremely costly if it gets messed up.
Absolutely.
Like,
there's an art to the. That's probably one of the things where, I don't know, maybe people have different opinions, but to me, it's kind of one of those things where, to me, that is such an art of execution that you almost can't fix a lot of times if you screw it up.
Right.
If you're pouring 3 inches of clear epoxy, which is like the bane of everyone's existence, you start doing clear epoxy, and then looks great for the first 2 hours after you do it. You're like, you know what? All right, this is going to cure for the next 3 days. I'll call it a night. You flip the switch off and you leave, and you come back, and they're like fucking bubbles just everywhere from the bottom to the top. I did that in a set of clear. A guy had me do 13 clear epoxy steps for his house. It was all burl, old maple type stuff. I coated it, but it didn't matter. One of them inevitably had bubbles, but that kind of thing, it's like, you can't fix that. You can drill out the whole thing and it'll be like a horrible hack job to try to fix it.
Right. And that's why if I get those jobs like that, any of the jobs that I've gotten that have been epoxy, I quote them accordingly as if things will go wrong.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is all the stuff that I'm going to do to make sure, because I don't want to do this twice.
No, exactly.
Sure this will not go wrong.
Yep.
I need to do penetrating epoxy. I need to seal this. It's going to take a lot of time. I've got to do this first, and then I've got to
time it all right. So some of those things, it's like
the shop needs perfectly temperature, climate controlled. You need
climate controlled, no dust for days.
Yep, no dust. The shop has to be shut down. So if the shop has to be shut, I have a day rate for my shop. Yeah. So if my shop has to be shut down for 3 days for your job, that is getting, if I have anything to counter that, because I also have the sawmill and the kiln and other things that I can do outside the shop. But if I don't have anything booked for that, and I've got other work that's waiting to get in the shop, I'm going to give a quote based upon what the shop is going to be shut down. If your project is the only one, then it is what it is.
You know, that's a lesson I had to learn the hard way several times over before it actually stuck. Is even just doing, okay, I've done a bunch of tables. I can do a table for you, fine. But if they come and be like, I'd like a 12-foot table, I'd like it to be 3 inches thick, final thickness, for like a conference table or something like that. Not even a conference, even a dining table. It's like I learned. It took a couple times, but red light and like just moving material that heavy.
Yep.
Where I need another person in there and I need to bring it somewhere to get surface because it lengths my CNC. I start factoring all this other stuff. It's like I'm driving all over the place with this goddamn material. It took me hours to pick it out and load it into the truck. It took me hours to mill it down and glue it up. It's not like I got S4S, 5/4 stuff, glued it together and it was done in a night. Like it takes nights and nights and nights.
And then the strain, like the time is one thing, but the strain, like even with like an engine hoist and whatever you've got to help you lift stuff or move stuff around in the shop, if you're dealing with big stuff, like that's primarily what I try to do is the big dining tables and big tables. And but the amount of strain it puts on your body, like we're not getting any younger.
No. I think we're similar in age too. So like
you just turned 40, right?
I'm 30. I'm slipping right under. I just turned 39. So
just turned 39. Okay, so I just turned 39 also. I just turned 39 in May.
Nice. I'm in March. Yeah.
Next year. So there we go. Next year we're gonna hit 40, and that hill gets hard to climb.
Dude, the same thing happened when I hit 30. When I hit 30, all of a sudden I had allergies. Never had allergies my whole life.
Yep. Same here. It's like my body thinks it's 20 sometimes, but it has to remind me that no, it's not. It's definitely not. I'm 2 20-year-olds.
Yeah, and I used to think I could lift anything because at one point I probably could, and then now I can, and I can pay for it for a week.
Exactly. Now the difference is the recovery. Like you used to lift it, you might hurt for a little bit and then you're good. Now you lift it, you hurt for a lot of it and you might get good.
I mean, as of now, I've never had serious injury from the shop, but probably the longest lasting effect of something was when I was taking a slab off of we have a forklift in the shop. But taking a slab off the forklift where I just needed to stand it up. So I just put my arm flat on the slab and I just needed to walk it flat and it pulled my whole shoulder back and I couldn't move my shoulder for like weeks. I needed to go to physical therapy. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, the listeners can't see it, but when I when I see that movement that you just did with just moving your shoulder that way, I'm like, that is that is
completely unnatural.
Yep. I had a similar issue years ago, just throwing something out at the dump. Me and my dad were lifting like this old sink, and we were just throwing it, just simple, holding it with 2 hands, but a little bit of a twist of moving it.
Right. Twist and lift. Yeah.
Yep. And then just not even really pushing, just more or less dropping the thing.
Yeah.
I ended up literally on my face, like a couple hours later, on my floor because my back like seized up.
Yeah.
And then I needed muscle relaxers for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. No, it's unreal. And that's the thing. And that's where while I envy, because not believe me, I've had the thought at one point, maybe I could do this full time. I wish I thought of that before kids and a wife and a
Yep.
mortgage and all that kind of stuff. But that ship has sailed. But like to do this full time, I cut my hand on a hole saw the other day, and if you don't have like use of one of your hands, like you're just not being very productive for a while. Like I can't imagine the stress that is to like safety becomes a like utmost importance when that is your main income.
I am smiling and I am laughing on the inside right now because what you just mentioned is pretty much like my mental philosophy day in and day out. Day in and day out. It's
like I need my hands.
Don't get hurt, don't get sick. Don't get hurt, don't get sick. If the tractor can move it, use the tractor. If you can use a tool to do this, don't use your body. It is like I could probably go on a special seminar just about safety, just because I need to use it on a daily basis so much than I ever would have before. Because if I'm not capable of working and bringing in income, it's a big problem.
Yeah,
it's a big problem.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you got 3 kids and a wife and a mortgage. Like
three kids, wife, a mortgage, a dog, a cat, 15 chickens.
15 chickens. Are the chickens just for the kids to like run around with?
Like,
keep them occupied?
We've got old mother cluckers. That's our egg production thing.
That's awesome.
Old mother cluckers. Those are some good hens up there. They produce. We get on average between 12 and 15 eggs a day.
Oh my God, that's awesome. A day. That's a lot of work.
Yes. Yep.
That's all. Yeah, but that honestly, the kids get used to it. I mean, the closest thing my kids have gotten to a chicken is my daughter's. My daughter just finished first grade and had they had like a little farm thing come to her school, and she pet the chicken while I was holding it. That's pretty much the closest she's ever gotten to it. So that's fun. That's fun for the kids anyway. Chickens
are cool. After having chickens, like we just got chickens about, God, what do we have them now? Has it been a year? I don't know if it's been a year yet. No, it's been about a year.
Oh, wow.
A little over a year we've had chickens, but we decided to do chickens, and we got them when they were tiny. But found out a lot of information, but it was a nice little, little tax write-off because I created it into the business.
Yeah.
I built the chicken coop.
Right.
I did all these little things that had to do with woodworking that made it into, okay, this is part of the business. We did this. But learning, chickens actually remember faces. Like I didn't know that. Chickens have
crazy
light during the day. They have better eyesight and they can see more colors than we can. They're very interesting though. Very interesting. They have their own little personalities too. Like they're not all just a bunch of little dumb animals. They actually.
How did so when you went full time, you said it's only been 5 years, so you've obviously been doing this a lot longer than that. How did that conversation go? Was that your wife initiating that or what?
I say 5 years. It was actually 4 years. It was 4 years because it was actually during COVID.
Okay.
So 2020, the company I was working for was offering a buyout for employees. And it was like the deal they were offering was perfect for me at that time. I was the only one out of my department to actually take the buyout and go for it.
Oh, nice.
And everybody was like, really? You're going? I'm like, yeah. I've been saying this for a while. I've been saying this is what I want to do. This is what
the universe telling me something. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like stars were aligned. Everything was perfect. It was like God just giving me the boot, like go for it. Talk to family and friends, and everybody was pretty like I've got a lot of family and a lot of friends, and everybody was supportive and said, listen, go for it. So it removed a lot of doubt out of my mind. I had a cushion because I got pay for how many months was it? It was a good amount of months that I was still getting paid.
Right.
Buyout package, and then switching over to full time, and just it was trial by fire and it was also serendipitous because the day that I left my previous job almost 4.5 years ago was the day that I had my first commission build from a interior designer.
That's funny. Yeah.
She literally called me within an hour of me leaving that job and said, okay, I got to go ahead from my client. Like, we're good to go with this build. And I built
make it. Yep.
Dining table, a bench, a desk, a few items. And it was just
awesome.
Okay, leave this, go to work.
And honestly, that's the perfect kind of thing, because that's a project where it's not small, but it's the right amount of necessity for time management, materials estimation. You're working for an entire interior designer, which is his own set of challenges. The client, you're trying to make everybody happy. And honestly, with the call it 6 months of pay that you might have got, it's like, in 6 months after a project like that being the first one, I'll know if this is going to work or not, because 6 months is plenty of time to realize that this stress is too much, or I'm like fishing for jobs, or I'm underbidding just because I need cash or whatever. Like, you can find a balance within 6 months if you're good at it. So that's awesome that worked out, dude.
Yep. And now it feels weird sometimes looking back and thinking, wow, this was almost 4.5 years ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To be perfectly honest, it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle.
Oh yeah.
Some jobs and some days and some months, whatever, have been great.
Yep.
Other times, I want anybody listening to know this. I've had 2 situations where I've almost lost my house. So
oh, dude, it's totally real.
It is.
That shit does happen.
It's going to take on lightly if anybody's thinking about going full time. You really, and those lessons we spoke about earlier before really starting this, lessons that you learn the hard way. You don't want to learn many lessons the hard way when you're doing this full time, or when you're working for really any business. If you're doing that business, and that's your sole source of income. I know a bunch of other guys that actually do it full time, but it's not their only source of income. Either they're getting income from their spouse, or they're getting income from an owned property, real estate kind of thing. When this is the only thing, it's all eggs, one basket.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And that's the thing. So when I'm thinking about starting this makerspace, it's kind of one of those things where, I don't plan on quitting my job for as long as I can handle both, mentally, physically. As long as I'm awake and I can do both, that's great. I can work from shop. I can have an office there, do what I got to do during the day, and then, be the person after hours, after 4 o'clock or whatever it is, teach classes, do whatever, manage the whole thing, write the grant applications, do all I got to do to just, keep the thing staying afloat. But, the idea of making that the sole thing is petrifying. It's absolutely petrifying.
Yeah. If it's generating enough revenue, it becomes its own thing that kind of forces you to say, this is the way you have to go. But if it's not
right
and it's close, then it's a tough decision.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's been the struggle for, business plan and all that kind of stuff. And for this endeavor has been, from everyone that I've talked to, and I've talked to a lot of, professional entrepreneurs and all this kind of stuff, they're pretty much just like, you have to prove demand. And the thing is, it's a prove demand, and don't lie to yourself, and don't exaggerate it at all. If nothing, prove it twice so that it's actually going to work. You can't be like, well, I had 500 people sign up for classes, and I know personally 100 of them. It's like, well, that's not the same thing.
Got to go with real numbers, not the inflated numbers. And you the lessons you don't want to learn hard. You want to learn those ones easy. Okay, I'm going to go with the conservative number that I gave myself on this. Or I'll set my goal of having this many people, and if I hit that goal, that's not good enough. I need to have a waiting list.
Because you're starting to estimate stuff, and I know that there are maker spaces that are in the general area, not super close, and certainly not woodworking related, but there are several area things that are close to this, and they got 300 members a month. I'm like, well, that's great. How low can I get that number before the numbers work out? Work out. It's like, can I get by with 50? It's like, if I can break even with 50, then I'm pretty good, because I will probably get more than that, but I don't know that.
Right.
and that's the scary part. So now I'm, at this point, the hard part also is the fact that, while Instagram and social media is great and I can go pay some Path Social service to go grow my thing and pay some AI engine to generate content for me and all this kind of crap that people are doing nowadays, I can go do that and get 1 million followers on Instagram, but that doesn't mean that locally people are still going to pay me to come to the shop. This is like a local thing.
That's the lesson I learned early on with Instagram. With using it, it was excellent. It used to be so much more than it is now today, but it used to be such a resource for networking because people would actually see each other's stuff and people would be interested in the community of it. But I can say in the past 4.5 years, 5 years, I might have gotten 2 commissions through Instagram.
Oh, really?
Like it has not been it's a different thing, getting custom furniture builds and everything through Instagram versus and it's all comes down to how your page is laid out and how you what kind of audience you're trying to attract. But it's tough. It is really.
Yeah, it's tough, and that's the thing, because honestly, the way that algorithms doing stuff is they're just trying to match, and at this point, it's matching me with people like you.
Right.
You're not going to buy anything from me. You also make stuff. Great, cool. We have that in common. That's awesome. But that's not a client. That's not a client commission relationship at all. It's not matching you on people who are gonna buy your stuff like in any way. So that's just a complete luck of the draw, and that's just like the only social media, commissions like that are friends of friends of friends that might have seen your stuff because you tag somebody or something like that. It's totally luck of the draw.
Right. And the only way commission to work through that, I feel, is if a friend of yours or someone you're acquainted through Instagram, oh, you know what? My friend of mine or somebody that I know wants me to build something because they know I'm a woodworker.
Right.
I know that this person actually specializes in that, and then you can refer them. But that's a rarity. Yeah. So that's a rarity.
It is. And there have been a couple of people that have cold called me asking me about, turning stuff, and I'm not a wood turner. I've used a lathe in a class once, and that's about it.
Yep, I'm right with you.
So I have 4 guys who are local that are amazing turners that I will refer them to. And if they don't want to do it, I'll just pass it off to the next guy. So I try to do that kind of stuff where I can. But what's funny is that outside of referrals, honestly, outside of referrals and word of mouth type stuff, because I'm a super townie, so I love meeting everybody in town. I love meeting all the small businesses in my small town and everything. But outside of that, Google Maps is like my second largest source of leads.
Yeah,
because people just look for custom woodworking or woodworker or carpenter or like anything like that. And if I show up on Google Maps, I get a lot of cold calls. Half the time, it's other woodworkers who just need tools, which is why I know that the makerspace is a thing that's already going to be successable. Because they all just need. I just need a planer that's not the DeWalt lunchbox, or I need a CNC work, or like, hey, do you have a big joiner to use? Like, yes, come on over, whatever.
Yep.
So half of them are that, and then the other half are literally just like, I need furniture made. Like, give me, can we talk? And 10% of the time that works out, 5% of the time that works out. But Google Maps it's incredibly powerful because that's where I go to look up businesses all the time. I'm
right with you. Yeah. Especially knowing the power of that tool, being able to jump on Google Maps. And I use it more than doing a Google search itself. Like I'll jump on Maps and I'll say, okay, search this area. This is the area I want to look in. This is the radius I'm willing to travel for this. I'm not going anywhere else. If you're going to be and knowing how to do certain keyword searches to find what you're looking for, and hoping these businesses have optimized their search engine keywords. I do the same thing. I think our number one lead generator has been Google, but not always Google Maps, because we've also with our website. My wife, I give her 100% credit, but she still is very modest and humble. She won't really take that credit, even though she's the one who did it. She jumped on our website when she originally set it all up. She pined for like 2 weeks just learning about different search engine optimization keywords, putting different areas and things and specific things to have on there, and making sure that the site was mobile friendly and all that stuff. Stuff that she did back when she created it and doesn't mess around with it too much now, but still does on occasion. Google just happens to pop up. We had somebody from, I think, Yelp or one of those type things try to sell us on their service. And
don't do that.
They're definitely a good service for people who are in need of that.
Yelp is hardcore salesman.
They were on the phone with my wife saying, okay, well, let's see how we can help you out. How about you Google blah, 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 gave a keyword or something, and see if your business pops up, and see where you are. And guess what? She's like, we're number 2 on the first page of Google. Yeah. So,
what page do I talk about?
I'll go through my script. She did such a good job, and we get such good.
That's cool.
Actual lead generations instead of the ones that call up saying, "Oh, can you make a wine stopper for my in-law or whatever?" Like, that's not really what we're trying to make. But I know
2 other guys that
they'll trickle in. We'll get sometimes some things like that, but having that set up and having it in a way that's going to direct you, Google has been the number one thing pushing people towards our website and then getting them directly to us.
That's cool, and that's my background. So I came from a web development background. So I did SEO optimization. I did a whole lot of that kind of stuff back in the day. Now I'm just a cloud engineering manager during the day. But like, it's funny. All that stuff it's still important. Like your website and all that kind of stuff. It's still very important to have it.
Yep.
And people think at this point that social media will drive it all, and it really won't. You still need to look professional. You still need to, present yourself well. You have to have your invoicing system as a professional looking thing. Give people options for payment plans, and they can, here's your deposit, here's your breakdown, all the kind of, like, because if you seem like a back of the notebook kind of guy, you're just not going to get the revenue that you need, especially if it's your only source. So your wife is full time with you in this?
Absolutely. This is our only income.
Awesome. That's awesome. So she do like a lot of the administrative stuff. She doing like estimating, and like how deep into is it?
She's not doing estimating, and you know what? She has. So, like I said before, she won't take the credit because of how humble she is. But I know the amount. Like when people say, in a nice way, like, "Oh, I couldn't do this without you." I literally could not do this without my wife. Could not do it. Like me sitting down and dealing with all the numbers of this and that, and every little minuscule thing down to taxes for this and this. I would go crazy. I would not want to do this anymore. We have meetings, and I have to sit down and we have to go over things because I know what was spent on certain materials and whatever. And job do. There's different categories for what those things go into, and that's all stuff that I don't even want. She's like, "Oh, was this a tool or was this a inventory?
Did I already pay for this, or was this for your shop, or is this?"
Yep. Like, was this a shop tool? Was this something that you worked in estimate?
I hate talking to the goddamn tax accountant. My God.
It makes, like, literally, I have a 20-minute window. From 1 to 20 minutes, I can handle it. I can sit down. I can give you my attention. I can do it. No problem. After that 20 minutes, it's like Dr. Hyde or Mr.
Dr. Jekyll and
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like, I switch. I know myself. I switch, and I'm like, I just can't. I either need to walk away and come back to this later. But if I stay and you make me stay on this is the version you're going to get of me. I'm sorry, but it's who I am, and I can only deal with so much of it.
It's like the longer we're talking about this, I could have finished so many things out there.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's like my mind is not here. My mind is in the shop. I wish I could just be, running some boards through the planer right now, or, you do this too much longer, and I'm going to wish I could put my hand through the planer. Like it's torture for me. But she handles so much. So my wife Sabrina, she handles the website, the editing of the website, the actual creation of the invoices, the follow up, a lot of the initial emails, a lot of the phone calls that come in. She'll screen and see if it's a job we're going to pick up or if it's something that's we do the furniture, but we also do the sawmill. So we get people that just looking to have a log milled, or people looking for lumber. And in that aspect, I try to be like, what was that Miracle on 34th Street where you had Macy's and Gimbals, and I'm I like to be that guy to tell you, hey, I don't have that lumber you're looking for, but I know who does, and I'm going to tell you exactly who to go to. So the relationships with the guys that are local to me,
cool.
Great. I can say, hey, go talk to John and Tommy over at Rescue Slabs, or, go to talk to John and Rob over at First Cut, or, I can where they need to go for what they're looking for. If I don't have what they're looking for. So,
No, that's cool. How is so do you get a lot of, do you still do a lot of sawmilling as a commission type thing? Because I would imagine that would die off.
It's diminished a bit, but I still get jobs for milling. So people will reach out to me because our official name on Google is Old Mountain Woodworking and Sawmill. So the sawmill portion pops up on there, and the SEO stuff still takes a look for a sawmill. There are a couple of big sawmills within 40 miles of us. There's two. There's one up north, I think, and there's one further south. And they'll only take on like bigger jobs for like logging and then milling, like
commercial jobs probably. Yeah.
Right. But if somebody's just got like, oh, I had this sentimental tree in my front yard and it came down and it's, whatever it is, but we just want it milled in slabs so we could turn it into this and that. Then I have to go through the whole education process of letting them know how it's going to need to dry and all that.
Yeah.
They opt to have it.
You're not going to have this for 2 years, right? And they're like,
exactly.
And then like, are you a woodworker? What are you going to do with it? And they're like, well, we'll find. So it was like,
yep.
You want us to just do it? Like we could do that too. Like we'll make you a table. We'll just earmark it in the yard, and like 2 years from now we'll give you a call, but pay us for the milling now, and then we'll get it later. Because it's funny.
I did that at first, the first year or two, and then I stopped because I can't guarantee that log or that anything, even if it's stacked and stickered, is going to be perfectly fine in the next few years. So I actually now stack, sticker, and strap it. And load it onto a trailer. The customer takes it, they bring it to their property, and it's up to them to get it down to 20% moisture content, and then they can bring it back to me, and I'll throw it after it's below 20.
Honestly, that's the way to do it. You got to separate concerns. Like you have to. And that's the thing, because it's like if it's really sentimental, you'll actually just sticker it exactly as you've got it on the trailer. Just do the same thing and ratchet strap it, and then every week go in and tighten it another click until it is not clicking anymore.
Yep, 100%.
Yep. No, absolutely.
Keep it flat, keep it dry, keep it airflow. Make sure you don't get any buildup. And
that's cool.
Keep
so what kind of kiln do you have? Do you have like a homemade kiln, or do you have like the eye dry or something crazy?
I have a homemade kiln.
Nice.
The luxury of being able to have the kiln on the property, and I don't have to go anywhere, and I can contact every day, whatever. Awesome. I built my own. I built it out of a 20-foot shipping container.
Nice. What did you just put like a what was it, NORAD or whatever it is?
I actually did just I sourced. So I'm like technical, so I'll look at all the specs of things. I'm like, okay, what do I need as far as dehumidification?
Yep.
What do I need as far as airflow?
Yep.
What do I need as far as baffling systems? And that's really all a kiln is. And then of course insulation to make sure you can regulate temperature. And then moisture. You can go in. For me, I can manually do it since it's right here. I don't have to have it. The ability to set it and forget it is nice, but I don't necessarily need that. I can check my kiln on a daily basis.
You can take 5 minutes out of your day and like take a walk over there. Yeah.
Yep. Crack the door open, or I've got probes I could pop in and check the humidity inside there and
That's
check
cool.
the moisture on each. I've got the Orion, the pinless moisture meter, so I can go in there, stick that in. So yeah, manually doing it. I've been able to get slabs down to really like probably 3-inch thick. Actually, no, I dried some of the Costa Rican stuff that I imported. I dried that because I brought it in wet. And then,
really? I didn't even know they did that.
Yeah, so I imported slabs from Costa Rica. I had them custom cut from Costa Rica Mill, Bernardo, down Costa Rica.
What, Monkey Pod?
I got Monkey Pod and I've got Perota or Guanacaste.
Yeah.
So I got both of those species, and I've got some big slabs. I was aiming towards getting the big slabs. You can always shoot them down if you need to. You can't really make it bigger.
Yeah. Do you still have that 4x8 full giant one that's there? I think you had that listed for a while. You had some massive like 4x8 like Guanacaste or something like that.
4 foot by 8 foot slab, or
yeah.
That's the smallest one I have.
Oh my god! Wow, dude, that's insane. So tell me about that. Like, who's buying that? Like New York City, Manhattan. Like, who's buying that?
Let's see. I've had some go all over the place. Actually, some of the cookies that I've had, it's nice because I had a series of one particular log that I had Bernardo and his guys down in Costa Rica cut up into slabs. Like I wanted them at thickness and everything. And there was a series of 3. One of them went to Boston, which is in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, but there's like a separate residence side of the Ritz-Carlton in Boston.
Okay.
I just delivered a couple months ago. One of them is in Las Vegas. And one of them is right up the street from me at a high-end wedding venue.
Oh, cool.
So I've got one in New York, one in Vegas, and one in Boston.
Awesome.
Of those ones. And each of them are very similar, but they have their own differences, the way that they were all put together. And then, to say about the other one, the big Guanacaste one that I have, it's funny because Bernardo just posted it the other day on, it might have been yesterday, when they still had it down in Costa Rica. It's 8 feet, or it's just over 8 feet in diameter. It's a cookie.
Jesus.
My
God. We don't have any big trees in the U.S. outside of redwoods. That's insane.
30 feet from me right now. 30 feet from me right now is that 8 foot.
What?
8+ foot. It's actually, they advertised it as 8 feet in diameter, and it's actually, it was, so 96 inches would be 8 feet. It's actually 99 inches.
They didn't send that to you wet, I hope.
Yes.
What? How do you move? Like, how do you drive like a cookie like that? Are you getting it wet and then you're like immediately painting it with the God, what the hell is that stuff?
Nope. This is the obsession with wood comes in, because I've had a healthy, possibly unhealthy obsession with wood for a long time. Jumping into the wood database and the book Wood with an exclamation point by Eric. Right.
It's in my bathroom downstairs all the time. Yeah. It's awesome.
Jumping into that, I mean, that's the freaking wood Bible. Like looking and seeing the exact tangential to radial wood percentage ratio. It is like certain species like Guanacaste or Perota, it is extremely low. So the amount of wood movement with those, like
even with a cookie.
Yeah, in a cookie, you would expect to see all these checks and all kinds of like big cracks, but the wood movement is extremely minimal.
So it's not. Is that not? What the hell is it? It's not like diffuse porous or whatever. It's just like straight grain.
It's straight grain, but it's actually the fibers are almost always interlocked because of the region it grows. There's no off season. There's no off season like you normally have in.
It's so bizarre. Yeah, so you don't even really have rings.
Yeah, it's hard to pick them apart unless you really look for them. You can see the rings, but with an interlocked grain like that, interlocked grain is part of what prevents it from.
No, there's nowhere to split because there's no straight line for it to split around.
Yep.
That's crazy. Oh, wow.
So my obsession with learning all this stuff about what wood will be.
Where are you drying? Are you just drying that? Are you just air drying that for now?
It's air drying. Actually, those big ones are set to go into the kiln right now. They're all below 20. They're all actually sitting right around 18%. I've got 4 really big ones.
That's cool as hell.
About 10 feet from me, I've got 3 that are somewhat big. I only say that they're somewhat big because of how big the other ones are.
Yeah, right.
Like I'm 6'6", and those slabs over there, like off to the side of me right now. They're back.
Oh my God!
I'm gonna walk so you can see me, but the people listening can't see me.
No, my God, that it looks like it's near the rafters.
Those are the slabs.
It's taller than you. Holy crap!
Yeah,
those are enormous.
So those are the medium-sized ones that I have, and they are all. I had them all milled at. What were these?
Was it 4/4 or a 16/4?
3.5 inches thick.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
And then the other ones that I have out, the big ones, those are all 5 to 6 inches thick.
That's awesome. Oh man. So are you just buying those, hoping for someone to buy them?
Correct. Yeah. So I actually have when I jumped on and doing this full time, I've got some friends and family members that decided we put together a contract, and we have them brought on as investors. So they invested.
Awesome. That's cool.
In the wood.
Cool.
Not in the actual business. So they don't have a stake in the business. They have a stake in the wood. So as I would work with each piece,
those are high priced items. I mean, something like that is got to be a lot of money for a Ritz-Carlton or a hotel to come buying a 99-inch diameter, 4-inch thick slab as like a coffee table in their literal entrance. That's got to be a high priced item.
Yep.
That's
and
awesome.
That's kind of the reason why when I started the business, when we started doing it full time, that was one of the big pushes that we wanted to do, was to invest in that wood, because it needed something to put us at a level. And I've got no problem sharing it because I love sharing information.
Oh, sure.
The recent one at the Ritz-Carlton that I did, that was a $9,000 coffee table.
Right.
It was a 3.
Easily. Yeah.
It was like a 3 foot by 5 foot round cookie. And then there was another piece that I did for them as well. So I think that entire order ended up being right around $10,000.
Yeah. No, and I mean that's the thing. That's not even like an obscene price. That's what something like that costs. People have no idea what it goes into drying something like that, milling something like think of the mill that they have down there that's cutting this kind of thing. The maintenance that goes into that, the manpower moving it around, crating it, shipping it internationally. There's so much. Yeah, like down in Costa Rica, some of the slabs. When I spoke to Bernardo, this is a conversation I had probably about a year ago, maybe a little bit more than a year ago. There was because he's got connections with the government, because everything has to be done a certain way down there. Yes. Yeah.
He had a tree that had been felled from a storm. The thing was so huge. I want to say it was. I think the maximum diameter was somewhere around 10 feet.
Oh my God!
And it was like 40 feet of trunk. So 40 feet of trunk at 10 feet diameter, and they couldn't get to this log any other way but by horseback. So
they send like the Budweiser fleet in there to pull it out of the jungle.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my God.
At the haul a big Granberg chainsaw mill to mill it, because there was no other way to get a mill in there. I think they ended up going to a Lucas super slabber, but still, the trek that you've got to do to even get to some of this stuff. And otherwise, it's just going to rot out on the rainforest floor, and it's not going to get use.
Yeah. And how many years is that going to take to rot? You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Holy cow, that's insane. Yeah, I keep impromptu just kind of reaching out to Bernardo, but I need to kind of take it seriously, because that's the thing. Because when you're building a business and you want to be a good citizen, and everyone can afford this, but it's not true. Like it's not true for custom stuff with expensive materials.
Right.
It is a certain price point. It just is what it is. And honestly, if you're known as the guy that does the coffee tables for Ritz-Carltons in Boston and New York and whatever, you get people talking, and it isn't just people on the internet talking. It's people that own Ritz-Carltons talking.
Right.
That's another level. And then you want to get into that crowd. You absolutely do.
Yep.
You want to get into like the Manhattan sky rises and that kind of stuff.
Yep. And honestly, what I have found with dealing with, and I'll call them high-end clients because of the amount of money they're spending on items, but the reality is they're high-end clients because they are phenomenal people.
Absolutely.
I found that these people are, that a lot of these people with means are just the nicest, most genuine people. And like, it's rewarding every single time I either get to bring a family member or someone on to help out with either delivery or something with the bill, or even just to meet these people, because they're down to earth and genuine.
Yeah. No, and it's nice because it's the best of both worlds for a lot of those kind of clients, because they have the means, because they know how much stuff costs, they know what quality costs, they're willing to pay for it, and they have the ability to pay for it. But then you also want to do a really, really good job because it's so expensive. So they're getting something that's top notch, and they're getting what they're paid for, which is fantastic. So it makes you and I, like the makers of that thing, take a lot of pride in making it, because you're like, this is going to someone who's really awesome, who paid a lot of money for it, and I want to give them their money's worth.
Exactly.
It's not just like a cash grab. It really isn't.
Yep. I've got a couple of rules in my shop, and it really goes hand in hand with what you just said. One of the main rules I have in my shop when it comes to building a piece is it's not done until I want to keep it.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
So
it's totally true.
I need it to be as close to perfect as possible, where I want to keep this before I give it out to anybody.
Yep. No, it's funny because, I mean, honestly, so from another guy who has 3 kids, like when I test finishes, like new finishes and stuff, I do something for my house and I bring it home and I put it in my living room and I just leave it. And I just see what kind of abuse it can actually take, because, a toddler and 2 young school kids, their abuse is going to be the most abuse. And then it's like, you know what? I know that stuff can withstand that. I'm good to use that on a client project, because I know they either don't have kids or they're not going to be as tough on it as my kids were. No, it's totally true. And that's the thing. The things where people say, like, you're the only one that's going to notice that little thing, because I've seen you put on stories where you're doing bow ties and you're doing, finishes or something, and you're like, I just did this, but I don't like that little, and people are like, what are you talking about? Of like, that line shouldn't be there. I'm redoing it.
Yes. It's hitting my nerve right now. It's like, yeah, like I think of so many times. People can't see it, but I am nodding my head right now, thinking, yes. When you spoke about the finish and having 3 kids and bringing it home for them, like, I'm like, yes. Like, I actually have, so it's become my most requested finish, something I've dubbed the Old Mountain method. So it's a method I developed for myself because I just I spent an entire year doing nothing but finishes. I did work on other projects, but I focused just on finishes and on clear coat finishes, not on like any kind of additive color, because that's something I don't really do.
Likewise.
And on the durability of them, I developed something I dubbed the Old Mountain method, and it has proven to be the most durable finish that I've done, because of its multiple steps to get to where the end result is. I tested it outside. I don't know if you remember this or if you saw this, but I had a small little block It's actually sitting out outside my shop still right now on top of
awesome.
a post just out in the weather, out in the elements. It doesn't look good anymore. It's been out there for 3 years. But it was an interior finish that I wanted to test through the elements. And every now and then I would take it off of this post that it's on out there and kick it around in the dirt and then put it back up. And, but it held up so well for so long. And now looking back at projects that I've done that method on, like they have held up so well. And those little things that with bringing the finish home, I actually have my wife come out to the shop and she touches anything that I'm working on after I think I'm done to make sure.
Is she like my wife? Is she also your biggest critic of that kind of stuff?
You know what?
Mine is, which is awesome, and I absolutely love that. Like if I can impress her, then I know that it's pretty good. She's like actually laughing in the other room.
He's doing a good job. She's doing a good job.
Yeah, she is doing a good job.
My wife, I would say, is very, very similar to your wife in that element because, but I will say that the only other one that might surpass my wife with the criticism is my dad.
Oh, really?
Dad will say like, "Why didn't you do this?" Or he does not
like. Is he in the know? Like, does he do this kind of stuff?
He actually comes and helps me out on occasion.
Cool.
He loves being in the shop. He was just I had him in the shop the other day sanding.
He's like, "You really want to help? This is what I need help with."
He really loves coming out and giving me a hand in the shop. He's retired now, but he loves anytime he can come hang out with me and work on stuff in the shop and kind of learn the craft a little more.
That's cool.
And he's handy. He's always been handy. He's not at that level of like fine furniture craftsman, but only because he hasn't done it, not because he's not
sure.
Love it.
Yeah, no, right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so he's
cool.
He's good though. He'll point some things out, and he's part of what keeps me on my toes sometimes because I've said it on stories and I've said it on Instagram and said it in other ways, but that little voice in the back of your head that says nobody's gonna ever see that, and I've had people literally say to me like, "Why do you worry about that? Nobody is ever going to see that." And my response to them is always, I am seeing it right now. I'm not nobody. I matter. I'm going to make sure that it looks as good as the rest of anything else.
Absolutely. Because when you deliver it, it's, now you're, instead of being as authentic as you can be, you're like, I love the way this turned out. This is amazing. I'm sure, I hope you're as happy with it as I am. You now need to act like that thing doesn't exist.
Right.
And you're now going to dance around it and you're going to show them the rest of it. And then you're going to hope in the back of your mind that they don't call you back an hour after you left. You're like, yo, what is this? Is this gap supposed to be here? Or this finish, like, looked like the sheen isn't the same, like in this little area, like whatever. Like that's like a nightmare phone call.
Yes. Yep. And that's one of those hard lessons that you learn and then you never want to learn again. So I learned those lessons in the past. Never again. I had finish issues early on, minimal, but that prompted me to be like, okay, I need a professional spray setup. I need this, or you need even more so than knowing certain methods and things. You need to set realistic expectations for yourself and for your client. So I have in my warranty, I have certain things stated that are just realistic. It's like if I make you a solid wood round table, in 5 years, it's probably not going to be perfectly round anymore. Wood movement happened. It's going to now, have some wood. There's going to be some issues with it being perfectly circular. If it was started perfectly circular, you might have it move a little bit, and that's just the nature of wood. Craftsmanship issues, if there are any that need to be dealt with, okay, like that's on the table. But there's if there's anything out of your control when it comes to climate control, that's in my warranty also. It's not climate controlled space. I can't control, what the wood is going to do. It's a solid wood piece.
Absolutely.
So little hard lessons learned, and then have to, go in and make sure your expectations are there. But it's really communication. It's about the communication with client.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and honestly, that's going to have them coming back for more.
Right. If you're building a piece of furniture, let them know, okay, this is some things that you need to be aware of seasonally, or or what kind of finish or furniture polish or anything to use to clean it, or certain things to stay away from. And then on the sawmill side, if you're milling something up, you got to let them know it needs to be kept in a spot where it's going to be good airflow. The kiln side, let them know. Just because it's kiln dried now doesn't mean you can just put it wherever you want. It needs to go.
Don't go putting it outside again and go putting it under the rain. It's like, we'll absorb as much moisture. But
moisture. So all this down to the education of letting everybody know what to expect, what the best practices are, and what the remedy would be if any issue did happen.
Well, and honestly, that's the thing, because especially because I've dealt with a couple people who, it's kind of their first time getting custom stuff made, which they're not used to real wood. They're used to, they're used to Pottery Barn. They're used to whatever veneered, highly manufactured type stuff that they've had in their house, which sure, it looks very nice and that's great and all, but it's not solid 8-quarter lumber as a dining table. If you make breadboard ends and, be like, hey, by the way, in the summer, this part's actually going to be a little wider because of expansion. Like that's okay. Like it's supposed to be doing that. That's real wood. That's what real wood does. It actually moves, because people really do not understand that. Which is funny because there's such a fine line between sounding like sounding like an ass, but then like actually explaining to them like, this is what to expect when I make this for you. Like, you're paying me a lot of money, I'm giving you a quality product, but this is what to expect also. You don't have to call me if something like this happens, but again, like if it in construction wise, like I have to go back now because a bench that I made with a dining table and a bench started to rack a little bit after like 3 years or something, because there was a lot of weight put on it, a lot of movement and back and forth and whatever, and it moved, and now the screw, whatever joinery got loose. I'm like, that's fine. I actually know how to fix it because I remember how I built it. I have to go pick it up. And like it's one of those things where back then I didn't put any warranty stuff in there, so they called me like, hey, can you fix this? Sure, because you might order some more stuff, that's fine, but like it's going to take me like 15 minutes to fix it. You might as well just go do it. It's not worth a reputation and a bad like review because I wasn't willing to just go fix something simple.
Reviews that review rating,
freaking reviews, man.
I'm keeping my 5-star review rating for the past 4.5 years, and I'm not deviate from that. Every single review is 5 stars, and if it's not going to be 5 stars, then
man.
There's never really been a reason that I can think of, or that anybody's ever given me. I've had one issue in the past 4.5 years, and I ended up refunding them entirely because the client, I honestly should not have even taken them on. Every once in a while, you run into one where it's just like, you're not going to be happy no matter what I do. So. Yep, that's a lesson learned. Actually, that was the one client that I had. I did a podcast not a few months ago, and I shared this, but that was the one client that I had that I refunded and was not going to please, and it made a new rule in the shop. And the new rule is I don't do stain.
No, dude, stain is horrible.
Stain is horrible.
Horrible. Especially when you stain, and also I have these other pieces. Can you match it? I'm like, no.
That's where the problem lies.
I can't, man.
But I can't. I like stain if I'm building something that is not custom. If I'm building something to put out there for someone to purchase, which almost never happens, but
at least they know what you're getting then. Yeah.
Right. I'm good at applying stain. I'm good at making it look good, and the finish work, all that comes along with the prep work and everything else that goes along with the stain, depending on the wood species. Yeah. But trying to match an existing color or trying to reach a color that the client wants or perceives in their mind, and then the variations in the wood shows, okay, this one little section is what you want, but over here it looks a little different.
Well, and then the 3 years when like, we put this near a window and it hit UV for 3 years, and now the color is completely different. Like that's what it does. Like that's just part of staining something. I've had to match a couple things where it made me really uncomfortable, especially because also it's not profitable to do that because you're testing a million things and you're mixing and matching and you're doing all this kind of stuff just to get that color. And in the end, it's like you could have just gone a different route and just used a different wood, and it would have looked great in your spot. But yeah, no, people kind of get stuck in that mindset. And you're talking to the same people that buy 10 color swatches for one room and they all look white. But they put them on the wall.
Yeah. And then they go and change their lighting afterwards, and everything looks completely different. So
they only tested it in the morning, and then by the afternoon, it's a different color.
I've developed my own process of when I have an initial consultation with clients. I've got a few key questions that I ask, and I tell them ahead of time, like, I'm asking these questions for a reason. It'll all make sense at the end. Trust me, we're going to get to where you want to be, but I need to know these answers. So don't hold back from giving me the 100% truth on this. I need to know.
Yeah, because the last thing I want is to go through this entire process and all the stress of building it and then realize you're that kind of person when it's finished.
Yep.
And now it's too late.
That job that I did for the Ritz-Carlton, the client, awesome people. The job. I asked them about the climate control, and they said that this is the second or third home, so they're not always there, and it's not always controlled. So I had to do extra bracing and stitches. So the underside of that cookie needed to get so it's in separate underneath and not on the top. So much work had to be done, and the slab ended up being 3.25 to 3 3/4 inch thick, somewhere around there. It was a thick piece, and I had to embed the stitches to hold everything together so they weren't blatantly obvious and visible from the top. I had to do them from the bottom.
Right.
I think I did a total of close to 50 something.
Oh my God.
Roughly about 3 inches. Now I used the CNC for a lot of it, but I had to map the exact location of every tiny little stress crack and everything on the underside before doing it. So it was extremely expensive to measure those out, plot them, and then do everything. But because I knew it wasn't going to be climate controlled and there was potential for the movement, and they also have a wood floor that moved like crazy. They had Jatoba, Bolivian or Brazilian cherry flooring that expanded, and that's not even one that has a high tangential or radial expanded contraction for moisture.
So like if that's expanding, you're not just saying you're not turning HVAC on, like it might as well be outside.
Exactly. The temperature was like, they said sometimes it's over 90 degrees in there, and the humidity is variable because it's in Boston. Like they're getting the sea breeze and everything. They're getting the moisture. They've got it was one that I took on all these questions, and I'm like, okay, I've got all these, and then I ended up finishing it actually with a paste wax that I usually don't do. I usually don't finish like I usually would do like more of a protective coating, but I needed to allow the wood to breathe, and I needed to also allow the wood to be as slathered and protected from moisture as possible. So it got coated in a paste wax and polished, and came out real nice. Still looks great.
Nice. That's awesome.
All the little questions that I asked.
Anyone listening that isn't a maker who is, just anybody else, this is why shit costs a lot of money. Because there's so much that goes into it that you don't realize.
Right. It's kind of like, I'm going to compare it to a doctor, and hopefully there's no doctors that are going to take offense to this, but you study as a doctor to know internal medicine, to know certain vascular things, to know you specialize in it. Yeah. There's a reason why your brain is worth so much. Same thing with woodworkers. When you find one that's worth their weight and really, puts in that effort to know these things and put in the effort to make sure that you're going to have no issues and the best product possible. Yeah. Like it costs money to know or to gain the experience from what these people know.
Absolutely. I mean, perfect segue. So I feel like the members of my makerspace could utilize your experience as a teacher. So you started doing some teaching, some classes, on your own. I don't know if that took off or if you're still doing that or whatever, but I would absolutely love you to teach some classes on some things.
And I would love to share.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be great. It'd be a commute for you, but it's fine. We'll put you up in a hotel. We'll go out to dinner. It'd be fun.
That's cool. Hey, it's just window time. It's just window time. And so we did classes. We did a few classes, and I kind of stuck a pin in it because of the amount of work that I was taking on and the inability to keep it going on a regular basis. Keep it in focus, because it was another. And I've always wanted to teach. I've always wanted to. Actually, when I was younger, I wanted to be a pediatrician or a teacher. I wanted to be a pediatrician because I loved working with kids, and I knew that I had expensive taste, so I wanted a career that was going to give me lots of money.
Absolutely.
That was my justification when I was in 6th or 7th grade, thinking, I wanted to be a pediatrician. And then later finding how many years of schooling I was going to need to do before I could, do the craft of medicine. But I've got plenty of family members that are in the medical field. But the other thing I wanted to do was possibly be a teacher. So I was like, I can still teach now. I can still teach this craft. And I've got, hopefully, it's only going to expand because I'm not stopping learning. But I've got things to share and help someone else on their path. I feel like I've learned a lot from guys like Izzy Swan and and Mark Spagnuolo. I mean, I binged on Mark's stuff early on when I started woodworking.
It was honestly, it was him, Jimmy J. Bates, and what's his face? The guy out in California, woodworking for mere mortals.
Why am I drawing a blank with his name?
Yeah, same. But yeah, those 4 guys were pretty much my intro to woodworking classes were pretty much those guys on YouTube.
Yep.
And it was just watching whether it was meant to be a teaching, learning thing or not. I just learned so much just from watching and osmosis and whatever.
Yep.
But those are the OGs of everything. I latched on to Shannon. Because of his dive into the specific aspects of different wood species. Oh, Shannon Rogers.
Yeah. And his and then not even so much about, because I know he does a lot of, he's the Renaissance woodworker, but he does mainly hand tools. But I got so much interest in learning about the different wood species and how they actually are
Absolutely.
different.
Like the Lumber Industry Update podcast is like, it's so nerdy, but it's so entertaining. It's really awesome. And let's think, doing a podcast by yourself, talking about like wood movement and wood species, you're like, how much can you talk about? And it's like, well, he's like 4 years into it.
It doesn't get old, because then, I tell clients sometimes, I'm like, listen, if you need to stop me, because I can't. It's not that I can talk about wood for hours. It's not that I can talk about wood for days. It's not that I can talk about wood for weeks. I can talk about wood for.
I think you might have froze. We'll get back to that. But you're definitely going to be
years.
Oh, you might be coming back.
And never good.
Yeah. No, we're good. We're back.
Good. Yeah, that was
I got your robotic voice.
I saw little spirals going, and I was like, "Oh, what's going on?"
But we heard you could talk for wood for weeks.
Yeah, really. I could probably talk about wood and woodworking without even diving into all the other stuff, but wood and woodworking and specifics of different wood species for years, just nonstop.
So and you're the exact type of person that I want teaching classes, because like the passion shows through. It's effortless. You absolutely love it and live it, and it's part of your life, which is fantastic. And honestly, people won't know how much they love it until they start making some stuff.
That's right.
You can see it. You can see it in people when they start making simple things, and it just totally lights them up. Like, you're one of those that are going to be a member for a while, aren't you? Because you really, I mean, honestly, I was a kid in a candy store just going to maker camp and just going around all the other stuff. I'm like, oh my God, what else can I do?
Yep. I got at the when we were working at the restoration station.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I mean, that was so awesome. I fell in love with it there. I've got a bunch of stuff behind me back here that's like more stuff that I've been saving up to really give myself like a good 2 or 3 weeks off from the job to just get a bunch of tools and restore them.
No, it's true. And it's funny that the moment that made it worth it, it's so nerdy. It's just so funny though. But like, you picked up a tool in that tent, you restored it, you worked on it for like an hour, and you're like scrubbing and grinding and sharpening and honing and getting it all whatever tuned up. And then you throw a piece of wood in the vise that they had there, and you ran it through. And I swear, when I finally got it to where it went, and it made that sound, I swear, Anne and like 3 other people like turned around like, what was that? Yeah,
you fall in love with that sound,
dude. It's amazing, and it's you don't understand it until you do it.
Yep. And then when the plane, like the feeling, like I'm thinking now, because I just went through a sharpening session last week. I went through a sharpening session with some stuff because I needed my number 4 sweetheart. I needed it, and I needed it pristine and sharp. So I actually had hand sharpened it in the past, and then I recently got a new set of DMT.
Oh yeah, they're nice. The wheels, yeah. And
no, not even the wheels. I did it on the stones, just the flat.
Oh, nice.
I've got 2 different grits that I picked up at the event out in Fine Woodworking event out in Connecticut. So I picked those up at the guys selling stuff out. So I was like, all right, now I'm gonna really sharpen everything. Sharpen my chisels, sharpen my plane irons, and I just took a picture just before the podcast started of the shaving I took off, and it's 2/2000. I took it in my calipers, so I took a picture.
Awesome. It's like full width, the entire length.
Yep.
And it's awesome. Just this perfect curl.
And it's through curly maple.
Yeah, see, it's satisfaction that people don't understand.
It's 8. It's like just over 8 foot continuous curly maple edging on this cabinet that I'm doing, and I just needed to take the burn off from the table saw blade.
Get it
nice and smooth. And then I got the burn out, and I was like, I can get this a little better. So I went ahead and basically turned my CNC machine into a giant shooting board.
Nice.
Because I've got the dog holes grid in the CNC spoil board.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It was worked out perfectly for the edge of the thing to overlay the edge of the CNC and use it as a shooting board, and it just
that's awesome.
It's one of those. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. So I'm like, it went so beautifully smooth, and the finish, like, I'm not going to need to sand at all. It's just perfect. Yeah.
We're such nerds. It's just like, it's another level.
It is. There's a reason why a lot of woodworkers are into Star Wars.
It's true. Well, what is your CNC? It literally looks like the same brand as mine, but I don't think it is.
My CNC is made by Style CNC. I imported it directly from China.
See, I have no idea. I've never heard of that, but literally the body, the placement of all the stuff in it look exactly the same. Mine is a Techno CNC, and they're out of Ronkonkoma in New York.
Okay.
So it's called Techno CNC. I bought it secondhand. And when I first got it, you reached out, which I totally appreciate. Like I was running into a lot of issues, and it literally was just, I came from an Avid to this machine, and the orientation was completely flip-flop 90 degrees and backwards. And so it was always like airing out because it was literally shooting because it thought it was 90 degrees turn. So my X and Y was all screwed up. But I just got it fixed again. I was running into an issue where the entire main unit wasn't turning on, and I blew a fuse, and I was like, where the hell? Because I opened it up and it's just freaking circuits everywhere. It's like, I have no idea what I'm looking at here. And it was shitty too, because with this company, which, whatever, I'm not throwing them under the bus. This is just their policy and people will find out. But if you don't buy directly from them, if you buy it secondhand, they make you pay $1,500 for a support.
Yep.
Which I'm like, I've never heard of that for any company. And maybe that's because I've never dealt with large industrial companies, but even a lot of them, they're like, Laguna doesn't do that. Like Sawstop doesn't do that. Like Festo doesn't do that. I don't know why they need to do that, but I would never buy from them again because of that.
Right. It's like a simple thing. Like if you gave the service and I need a part or I need something, I'm going to order it from you.
It took them 5 minutes on the phone. It took them 5 minutes. I had a simple question, and like that's it. They're like, well, do you have a service with us? I was like, what do you mean? I just need to know if this fuse is blown. They're like, yeah, no, we can't talk to you until. I was like, you're literally gonna ask me for $1,500, literally to answer this question? I was like, are you kidding me? They're like, well, no, that's pretty standard. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's not standard. Like, I've never heard of that.
I've never run into that with a company. I've run into, okay, it's outside of warranty, so if there's going to be
sure
or whatever, then you got to pay full price for it. I've had that happen. Right. Actually, I've had that with Sawstop, and they've been great though.
Yeah. And I get that. But to not even answer a question about your own product like drove me crazy. But I literally had to bite the bullet and to get it because I was like, I need this thing up and running. Paid them, and in 5 minutes I had my answer, and then it was up and running again.
When you call them back and say, "Hi, I'm from Consumer Reports. Just an article on your company, and I just want to give a hypothetical and see, like, if I was having this problem, what would you do? Like, let's play this out as if this was a real life situation."
And what's funny is that the guy that I bought it from, they were the second buyer, so they had to do the same thing. So this company's made, over and over, they've made support money. But he's just like, honestly,
I guess you know what their business model is then. Their business model is support.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, he said if I had known that, I wouldn't have even told them that they sold it. He's like, you could have just called me and I would have told them that we had the problem and they would never know that the machine moved. I was like, well, I opened my mouth because I wasn't expecting that.
Hindsight 2020. Yeah, you really never know until you run into that. And if you run into it once, then it puts a bad taste in your mouth because in this day and age, like, customer service and support is everything.
Yeah, especially because that's the thing. This is Avid is kind of like, it's not a commercial level, it's not an industrial level. It's like you're not a homeowner, you're not like a hobbyist.
Right.
It's still like a very quality machine. Like it's still a quality machine, but you can still piece it together and build it and make it as big as you want and all that kind of stuff, which is great. And I loved it. But it's like even this is not a super industrial machine. The vacuum table is separate. The vacuum is separate than the vacuum, like the CNC machine itself. You still need to get that separately. Like it's not an all-in-one thing like some of the Laguna IQ stuff, which I really want.
Those things are amazing.
I watch my coffee stuff and I'm just drooling over the CNC setup over there.
I'm constantly thinking about like every single tool purchase. I'm like, what's the ROI? What's the ROI? If there's no ROI, then I'm in a position that I'm fortunate. Before going full time, pretty much every tool in my shop was completely purchased and paid for, like no payments on it. So except for the tractor. The tractor, that was a deal too good to pass up. But the CNC
thing, it's like the IQ is what? It's like 50 or 60 grand or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, while it's great, I also don't want to be doing, personally, just me, I just don't want to be sitting there running cabinet projects on it all day long. Like, probably could, but that's, then I can't do anything else.
One of those machines, it needs to be factored into the cost of the machine to hire on a CAD CAM operator.
Exactly. Yeah.
Someone other than yourself and that needs to be factored into the cost.
Yeah, exactly. But it's nuts. But yeah, like I finally got my CNC up and running. I'm gonna be doing a project next, which is four like surfboard shaped tables and 4 cutting boards that'll be used every day for this bar down at the Jersey Shore. But I'm gonna be doing my first V-carve inlay with a different species, which will be kind of cool with their logo and everything. So I've never done that, but there's a YouTube specifically in V-carve that is exactly how to do it. I'm following that to a T and seeing how that goes.
You watching the other guys who do it? There's two main guys that I see do those on a regular basis.
It's probably one of them.
Bryan Ortquist.
Who is it?
Bryan Ortquist. I can't remember his first name.
This guy is Greg's Garage. Greg's Garage. It's like it's a thing from 6 years ago, but it's still in V-carve, and all the options that he showed were still the exact same options. So I'm pretty stoked about it.
Jeff and Jess are the other ones over at Two Moose Designs.
Oh yeah. No, they're awesome. Yeah, no, they're on Mike's podcast. Yeah. No, I'm definitely going to be excited about this one because it's like 8 V-carve inlays. So like I need a process to do it, and that's kind of half the fun is just problem solving. It's production
getting
work,
tolerances, and getting everything just right. And then once you get it dialed, you're like, "This is my formula." Just
exactly.
Rinse, repeat.
What are you working on? What are you working on now? You got like a box with holes in it and all this kind of stuff behind you. What are you working on?
Yeah, this is a mid-century. It looks like Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
That, and then I've got this mid-century modern, and the base. I've got it's a walnut base and a maple top, and it's getting these kind of the holes that look like Swiss cheese are kind of are what the client describes as portholes, randomly placed. Those are going to get a trim piece. Needs to be done like yesterday. Get a trim piece. It's a patinaed copper that's going in into that. So a patinaed copper going to have kind of like that dark brown kind of colors, but then also the green from the patina, and then contrast with the with the maple will look nice, and then the walnut is a quarter sawn walnut base.
Are you cutting the copper on the CNC too?
I'm using a new product to me. It's actually a copper dust infused paint.
Oh, okay.
So it's a copper dust infused paint with a chemical that's also included to patina.
That's cool.
That's going to be fun to do, and especially because this is supposed to be delivered on Friday.
Aren't those the best?
They are the best. I work well under pressure, though. When I've got like literally no time to get anything done, I tend to push out some pretty good stuff in a pinch.
No, I'm totally the same. I need a deadline. I'm an ADHD kid. I need the deadline.
Yep.
But
I just stay. You keep working on it, and it becomes from 95 to 99.5% takes the same amount of time as from 0 to 95%.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. It's the finishing. And honestly, that's why I got into commissions. So I had to finish stuff, which is really funny. But all right. Well, I mean, we're at an hour and a half. This is the longest episode we've had, which is fantastic. I can talk to you forever.
Hey.
I'll probably just call you next week because why not?
Perfect. Why not? Let's talk.
Where can we find you around Port Jervis, New York?
Port Jervis. So pretty much where I am is 4 minutes from New Jersey.
Yes, that's where I grew up too. I grew up in Pearl River, New York.
So so you're right. That would have been a little further south, but right where New York meets Pennsylvania meets New Jersey is pretty much where I am. If I pull out of my driveway and make a right, I am 4 minutes from New Jersey. It's literally just out the driveway and make a right.
Yep.
I drive for 4 minutes straight, and you're in New Jersey. Make a left out of the driveway and make another left, and in 8 minutes you're in Pennsylvania. So it's right there. I've got a nice view of High Point Monument as I'm driving to my house. It's right there. It's the highest point in New Jersey, elevation wise. And I'm always willing to work with people on collaborations. Whether it's I got some people that need CNC work for something they're working on. They come by and drop it off, and we get it done. I got a piece behind me that just needed to be flattened, and guy's going to be filling it with epoxy.
Nice. Where can they find you on socials? Give your website.
On social, you can find me at Old Mountain Woodworking on Instagram. And if you look me up on, I got some stuff on YouTube. I haven't really dabbled deeply into that, but I need to get on there more. Old Mountain Woodworking. And on the website, it's all simple. www.oldmountainwoodworking.com.
Nice. No surprises.
I'm Bryan. So if you reach out, I always forget to say my name. I'm like, yeah, Old Mountain Woodworking. But no, I'm Bryan. My wife is Sabrina, and our 3 kids help us with the business whenever they can. And I'm sure that all 3 of them are going to grow to, at least in some way, contribute to this as well, because they love it.
Dude, that's awesome. No, that's awesome. I say all the time, my daughter's gonna run some company. I don't know if anyone will work for her because she's pretty bossy, but she's gonna be a really good CEO somewhere. So yeah. maybe of some of my stuff.
Yep.
But no, that's awesome. Well, I totally appreciate you coming on. This has been awesome. Super special because you're the first remote guest on the Make It Till You Fake It podcast. So this has been awesome.
Awesome.
And
I feel
cool, man.
Thanks,
absolutely.
Dan.
Cool, man. Well, we'll talk soon.
All right, Dan.
Catch you later.